you're probably wondering why am I surrounded by all these plants, but today I went to the garden shop. I had to run quite a few errands after I did the school run, which is very untypical. Generally I just pop into the post office and come home and just start with the computer work, catch up with all the emails, and then eventually I do everything else. But today it took me pretty much half a day to run all of the errands, and that was done, so I was glad. But what I'm planning to do is actually, I bought a few new plants which I'll show you, and I think it's quite relevant because I love botanical art at the minute, and there's like, you know, loads and loads of plants that you might be inspired by. So let's talk about some of the things that I need to do. So firstly, I've got this, I think it's called money plant or like money tree. This was a baby that I got from the main tree, and I just plunked it in there and it just started growing, and I think it looks so pretty in this copper dish. Originally there was a different succulent growing here, yeah, so I just need to add a little bit more soil, and I think I'm going to use those pebbles. They're not pebbles, they're like, I'll show you later. Basically you just top it up on top and it kind of keeps the moisture. This is how it's originally stewed or presented, but this pot is too small for this stand, which is really lovely, but I want something bigger. I think bigger would look nicer on here, so just as an example, this would be better suited. So I will change that up. I also got a new stand today, which I think will work quite nicely. Got a bag of things here, which I will show you soon. But basically, here is a tiny little stand, and I think that would work nicely on this stand. Obviously not on top of that, but I'm just giving you an example. So I think that is better suited and it looks prettier. So that's that. And then I need to add a little bit more soil onto my geraniums, which are looking a little bit sad at the moment, but they have been flowering really, really well, and I want to keep them in a small pot like this. I don't want to replant them into a bigger one because they are my windowsill type of geraniums throughout the year. So the next thing I need to replant is this beautiful, super tropical looking type of a fern. So it's an interesting one. I always get maximum 2 leaves. I don't think I ever got 3 leaves. So they come in a couple and they are very big, as you can see, gorgeous. And then what happens, usually they're close to one another as well, like that. Then they start to die off, and at this point where you can see the brown comes the baby one, and the baby is super adorable. Let's see if I can show it to you. It's basically quite fuzzy. So it's quite fuzzy and cute looking. And so that's what will happen. Most likely there's going to be another one coming out. It sort of feels like this pot needs some more like fresh soil. So I'm gonna do that. That needs repotting. Another really sad looking plant, which used to do quite well, is this one. So in my studio I had a spot for it, and it was so bushy and so beautiful, and I was like amazed because it literally was this big bush. I didn't do much to it at all. I didn't pay any attention to it. Then I decided to reposition it into another part of the room, and that's it. It did not like that. Yeah, it was not happy with me. And basically that's all I have left, looking very, very sad. But there is a baby shoot here. So again, I'm going to try and add more soil to it. And also I bought a baby feed, which is like not a baby feed, a bio, like a organic feed that you can mix with water, I think, and give them a little bit of vitamins. So I will try with this plant because when it is doing well, it's gorgeous. It's got these leaves that have stripes on them, and it looked beautiful. So I'll give it a go, see whether I can save it. There's another baby shoot right here, so I'm hopeful. And then there's another interesting thing. I've got a totally wild orchid here. So this orchid has been given to me by my husband many years ago. I think it must have been like a Mother's Day. Sorry if I'm looking there, but I'm just checking if the lighting is a bit too bright. So basically this is what I have going on here, and you may not see it from there, so I'll show it to you closer. What we have here is we have a twine that has finished flowering, and at the end a little baby orchid shoot came out. It already has its 2 roots here, the aerial roots, and it is also blossoming. So we have one of those orchids that is from here. It somehow came out of the end of this. Similar thing happened before, but it didn't bloom. So I am intending to snip this one off and plant it. I got a little pot for it, so I'll show you. And it's just like, I never knew that this is even possible. I thought that orchids can be grown from like the seeds inside. It takes apparently years and years to germinate a seed, and then you need to give it this sort of perfect tropical, warm, humid climate to do that, and it's not guaranteed. So yeah, it's very interesting. I've never planted this one. It's doing well. As soon as it finishes blooming, it gives me another bloom. So I'm quite happy with it. And I'll show you one that I already clipped off. So this is the second one, and the one that I clipped off I put into one of those glass domes. It's a little bit humid in there, and it's supposed to be, so it's got a hole in here. Sometimes I leave it open like that, sometimes I just keep it closed because there's a hole for the oxygen to go in. And basically you don't really need to water it unless it's really hot in the summer, but it's quite sort of rare watering. And we've got 2 roots here, so one root has gone all the way into here, and there's another one really healthy root. So this baby used to grow just like the other one there. So this one I'm keeping in this kind of humid environment, which orchids naturally love. But with this one, the blossoming one, I will just plant it into a pot, and basically that's the pot that I got for it. So it's really cute. It's a miniature pot of this one, and it's like crackled ceramic. I love this. I already have this color like in a bigger size, and I have an orchid growing there which also non-stop keeps flowering. So before I show you my new plants, my new babies, I wanted to share this aloe vera, which is this particular one is a medicinal one, so it can be eaten or it can be consumed. Before I went on to researching this subject, I didn't know that there are certain aloe veras that can be toxic. So there is some yellow like liquid between the flesh and or the jelly and the skin, and that in the certain aloes that are not great for consumption, that can give you like a stomach upset, or if you eat a lot of it and consistently, it can be like just not really good for your health. Apparently something bad for the kidneys, I don't know. But so I made sure that this is a medicinal one, and it says somewhere here that you can consume it. Yeah, it says medicinal aloe. So usually medicinal means you can eat it. But when I got it, I was quite desperate because we just didn't have anything in the garden shops. I went to 2 garden shops, and this is the only ones that they had. If I show you the close-up, there's some sort of thing going on here, and if you know, let me know what this is. I'm intending to cut off the leaves where it is done. use up the flash, obviously cut off the bad bits and use the flash where it's good. And hopefully if it's some sort of thing, it will stop reoccurring. But yeah, I hope it's nothing too bad in terms of it won't spread to my other plants. I'll try to move these plants around and I will show you my new baby. So this one we got over the weekend. He's so cute. It's a type of a fern. I absolutely love ferns. They're so juicy, they're so happy, and I love the leaf structure, super gorgeous. And in terms of pots, I mean, you see my taste is kind of either white and plain, and to be frank with you, these are from IKEA and I used to have only these pots. And I've gone off them, but I still have the pots left, so I try to use them up. These days I like pots that have more kind of character to them, that look more organic, more contemporary. As you saw before, the copper pots, they're kind of really a thing that I enjoy. So this one looks really nice in the black pot in my opinion. And then I got this succulent, which is called Neocolor. Fleshly jointed stems, narrow grey leaves. Oh, fragrant white flowers. How interesting is that? So I thought this one looked interesting. I haven't seen it before. And it is gorgeous. Okay, I think it's focusing now. So I would love to sketch that. It looks really cute. I love the color. And then, so this big boy I had before, and what happened is it's also a type of fern and I just love it. I mean, look how gorgeous this fern looks. If I touch it, it will take off this gray color, so I'm not going to do that. But basically it's so bushy and it's so lovely and sounds great. It's got those furry legs, so if I'm going to show you inside the pot, they're quite funny. They tend to grow outside of the pot and literally look like a kitten's paw. So yeah, I had one which did really well. Unfortunately, after I replanted it, unfortunately the soil that I used for it was in a way contaminated. And so I had loads and loads of flies out of every pot that I put that soil in. I had 20-30 flies come out and it just was a nightmare. So what I ended up doing is I took it out and I left it in the shed during the winter month, and it not only killed the flies, but it looks like it might have killed the plants as well. So I will see if I can bring it back to life. I don't know how sturdy it is, but the beautiful plants that I had contaminated unfortunately seem to have died completely. So yeah, so I wanted a replacement because it's so gorgeous. So that's the replacement. And then I bought another beautiful green plant, which is just really nice. It's got a long, tall shape to it, and there's loads and loads of these stems, which basically looks like these were the seeds that they came out of. So there's loads of them. And the roots are kind of, you can see the roots, so it looks like I will need to replant it fairly soon, but I like how juicy and green it is, so I'll probably need to spray it quite a bit. And the pot is basically this striped ceramic, and it's got kind of like a matte and a glazed part here, and it looks lovely again with the plant. Okay, so I popped into the shed and had a good look at the plants. All 4 of them have died completely, including this fern. It did not survive. I checked its furry paws, everything was like rotten pretty much. So I have cleaned out the pots and I washed them, gave a good wash inside with hot water to make sure if there's any residual eggs left or whatever from those flies, that it's all gone. And I'm going to reuse those pots. So this is where the other fern was living, so I'm just going to pop it in here. I think the shape looks so gorgeous with this plant. So if I just pop it on the pedestal, so it looks really, really pretty in my opinion. And that's how it's going to live. Then I have another pot, another one of those black ones, but it's got ridges on there, so maybe something next to that would look good, but I haven't decided yet. But the other pot I wanted to show you is this type of a pot, and I have quite a few. I absolutely love it. So these are the ridges of the pot, like that. And there are different shapes and different sizes. So this is the smallest one I have. I also have a beautiful grey round pot. Now I find that depending on the shape of the plant, like in this case, it looks super beautiful in a round pot. So I'll show you my orchid. I'll go this way around. So I've got one of those orchids, and as you can see, the shape of it kind of opens up a bit. So again, looks beautiful in this round shape. And I've got a larger pot like this, but a different color, and that has a big orchid in there. So again, looks pretty. This orchid is really happy here because here's another shoot coming out, which will eventually blossom, and it had already 2 or 3 blossoms after I purchased it, so it's doing quite well. It's one of those tubular orchids. So why don't we replant that baby orchid together.
Never up, never down, never. Like a theme in a song, clever. Feeling high, feeling low at the same time. Feels so right, then I'm wrong, hoping I'll be fine. But I get up, I always do. I never think, I always do. Never thought I wouldn't jump, oh what a fool. But if I fall, I would get up again.
That is it for all the plants, and I probably won't have time to deal with it all right now because I want to go and finish filming the studio vlog with all the lovely illustrating and painting. So I think I'll take you upstairs. I already had my coffee, by the way. I popped into Koster while doing all these errands. Okay, I'll see you. It's like a jungle here. I'll see you in my studio. Welcome back to my studio. So I have got these 2 babies ready that you saw before on my kitchen counter, and I'm going to try and illustrate them. So here you can see what's happening. There's a lot of overlaying, and I will try to kind of interpret it in my own way and perhaps create an illustration based on the leaf structure, but just not as much realism. So I am going to focus on the leaf. So first of all, I'm going to just create a first leaf, and essentially what we have here is one side, then there is something that comes out and it's the second leaf, and then the third one. So then we have, let's say we'll put another one up here. We're going to cross them over, and one leaf is going to go underneath, and then this one is going that way. So we've got two leaves, and maybe to this composition we add another one and try to place it underneath both of them. So maybe in this case I will start here just to give myself a good kind of visual idea where both of those leaves will end up. So maybe like that, and I think that makes a good composition. If you wanted to make it really busy, you could carry on. In my instance, I'm just going to elongate the stems of the leaves just to fill up the whole page, and then I'm just going to draw the lines in between, because hopefully you can see that there is a line in the middle of the leaf. Like so. Here we go. Okay. So that will be a watercolor job when we're ready. And then the other thing you can do to make it again a little bit more stylized is just adding your flair to it. So in my instance, I'm going to go and add just a bit of darkening at the tip of the leaf. You can do like at the bottom of it, you could do at the tip instead. You can, you know, find a way of adding your style to it. Or for instance, you could create little circular kind of like beads there, just again to highlight a bit of a style. Okay, so that's that. In terms of this lovely plant from the Canary Isles, I'm going to try my best not to kill it. Sometimes when plants are a bit rare or unusual, they need a certain climate, but I'll do my best looking after this one. It doesn't say, maybe on the pot, I'll have a look later, I don't want to make a mess now, but sort of what light and water conditions it needs. So here we have got a juicy green stem with grey leaves, succulent leaves coming out. And essentially, from where I'm looking, they are overlaying. So I'm going to try and illustrate it just the way it grows. I'll start with the top leaf, which has no overlaying of any kind. and then just following the shape of it. I think I'll probably set the flower or the plant down because you can't see what I'm doing. And then I can see it's sort of going, it's moving more down and not too far, and then the next leaf is coming out and it's sort of, again, it's a bit pointy. And then we have the next one, which is slightly lower down, and that is actually going over the top, but I will put it underneath it. And the next one is down below and sort of like curling in almost. And the next one, again, going under. And this one is a bit more straighter. I might just elongate this stem downwards like that and leave it nice and clean so that both of them kind of look good. The other thing you can do is you can add another stem like it and suggest one kind of going in the foreground and the other going into the background. So that could complicate things. So there's one leaf going this way, one leaf that's crossing over, it is up to you how complicated you make it. You can always simplify things if they are a little bit too difficult. Personally, I love this overlaying in the modern botanical art. I think it just adds a beautiful edge, and if you just do one, it's kind of simple, but add another one and you just get something really interesting. And it's actually easier to do than what it looks like when it's finished on paper. So this drawing ended up tighter than the first one. The first one is more open. So that can give us a lovely variation. And again, I will finish it somewhere there. Now I'm just going to kind of highlight certain areas just to keep with that the same style. Adding a little detail like that always makes botanical illustration stand out better. Makes it pop off the page, even though you will add watercolor later. So here, there's no point for us to add a line in between because the leaf is quite narrow and it's a succulent, so there is nothing running in the middle there. It's sort of more curled, and we can suggest that through watercolor application and adding a bit of depth, maybe with some pencils or some mixed media. Another fine liner that I would recommend for this work, which kind of works cleaner because it doesn't have this fine nib. Sometimes I find that the nib can irritate the paper fibers. and kind of scratch it in there. So the pen that I would recommend is the Copic. So it's the Copic Multiliner, and it's pigment ink, water and Copic proof. So that's a good one. And sometimes if the line is messy, I can go in over the top just to correct things. It's a lot easier with this pen. I have a lot more control. The tip of it grips much better to the paper, and it's easier to add certain detail. So that's it. So then all that's left is adding some color to it, and it could be watercolor, it could be something like a pencil or whatever medium that you prefer to work with. I think I'm probably running out of time now, so I will do that in the next video, and I will slow it down. We'll do watercolor, we might do some glazing, and on this paper I will use watercolor and mixed media, because that's my rule for this sketchbook, because I don't want things to be printed. There is another tutorial that is coming, and we will be this flower is not finished, I need to add a stem to it, but we will be watercoloring and coloring it in with pencils and things like that, so that we have a finished version like this, but just more big and more detailed. So you'll see how I'm going to go about it. All right, so I'll see you soon, and hope you enjoyed this vlog. Give me the thumbs up, like the video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and leave a comment. This week, I forgot to say, I will be busy with creating half pan sets from my tube sets, because some of you can't afford the big set, the 5 tube set, and it is fair enough. They are handmade watercolors. They are going to be more expensive than the big brands, even though I try to put the price similar to that, not really exceeding it. And these are the 14mm tubes, so they are quite big, but never mind, I want everyone to be able to afford them, so I will probably sell some individual tubes as well as half pan sets, and they will be obviously a lot more affordable than the big 5 tube set. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.